Have our monthly update, and it's been a while. We haven't seen Eric Schertzing since he was running for the same seat that I ran for. Now, he got a few more votes than I did.
This is a tremendous coincidence.
Yes, this is, yes. Both of us were, shall we say, less than successful candidates in the 8th District, trying to get to Washington to represent the 8th District. Eric is the Ingham County Treasurer and also still affiliated with the Land Bank, the Ingham County Land Bank. But tell us a little bit, I'm really curious because this is the first time we've talked since the campaign. What did you find that you liked about running for that office, and what did you not like?
Well, you know, it's great to meet a whole new cadre of folks. I mean, that's part of the reason why you do these public ventures.
Yeah.
You know, so that was great, and getting to explore new issues. You know, as county treasurer, I can kind of know everything I'm talking about, but as a federal congressional candidate, I think it, you know, you try to control what you say rather than answer the questions.
Yes.
So that was hard, but you know, I think it's the fundraising, it's the money that is the challenge.
That's the driver, isn't it?
That's what I spent a lot of time on. You know, I think we raised $500,000 or so.
Wow,
It's a lot of money, Eric. What did your opponent raise?
Probably 2.5 times that. I mean, he had a more engaged primary. But.
Plus, he's in Oakland, right?
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's kind of one of the other things is how vastly different the two ends of the congressional district are. I mean, Rochester Hills, you know, at the eastern end is really
upscale bedroom,
a very upscale Oakland County personification
one
community.
percenters.
Did you get Kid Rock's vote? He's from Rochester.
Melissa Gilbert, I think, in Howell.
Yeah,
but,
okay. That's good enough.
Which were hard to come by also. You know, so those were the two big ones. You know, have you recovered from that race? You know, I'm still at the tail end of my recovery phase, but you're a little further out.
I didn't. I had a sort of interesting campaign strategy. Most of my speeches were not actually in people who to people who could vote in the district. I spoke at high schools all over the state because I thought it was important for young people to sort of get engaged with the issues. And it's funny because that was in 2000, and my top issue was climate change. Next was ending the war on drugs, and the third was changing the health care so that we would have universal health care. And I find it ironic that that was, what, now 15 years ago, and we're still dealing with a lot of those issues today. What came up that as issues during the campaign that you had to sort of get briefed on that you wouldn't run into as treasurer? What were the hot issues that drove the campaign?
Well, you know, I mean, you had issues like Ebola coming up at the end. I think that was probably a Republican strategy to put us off stride.
It was a sideshow, wasn't it?
Absolutely. You know, you would think today that the issue had completely gone away, and of course it hasn't. It was just a way to raise fear.
Yeah.
You know, we ended up with women, white women, voting very much like their spouses.
Oh, is that right?
Is one of the turns in the electorate from that fear of Ebola and border issues, which, you know, just faded in the background as soon as the election cycle was over. So.
I'm always amazed at what captivates and what, you know, we do in journalism a lot of research on things like agenda setting, that the media sets the agenda, and what is it, the topic that captivates people, and that's what they'll talk to over the water cooler. And I'm thinking about this last weekend, that you got 3.7 million people to show up in France for killing fewer people than one lone gunman did at the University of Virginia here not too many years ago. I mean, it's ironic when you really look at it. On the same weekend, 2,000 people were killed by Boko Haram in Africa, another one of those really violent sects that are causing us so much trouble around the earth, but you can't get 3.7 million to show up for that. So it's sort of what dominates the news, really drives what happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What were some of the other top, I've already forgotten the summer, so what are some of the other top issues that you're facing?
Well, you know, I mean, healthcare certainly came up, and you know, I don't back away from healthcare because that's a personal issue. I grew up with sick parents, and certainly as county treasurer, I see the ramifications. Like, I mean, 50% of the problems economically in households are based on healthcare debt. So I mean, that's just a huge issue, and we've only really scratched the surface of solving that with the Affordable Care Act. But it's a positive movement forward. You know, we had the border issue, the young in the summer, the young kids were coming through from Guatemala and Honduras, and that became a huge and divisive issue, a tough one also, but that was a long time ago.
One of the reasons that I made healthcare one of the primary issues in my campaign back then was that my first husband, I sort of marry early, marry often, right? Just like voting in Chicago, the same kind of thing. My first husband contracted melanoma in the first year we were married. I married at 18, and I spent the next 7 years trying to figure out how to support the both of us. At a time when even healthcare was nowhere near as expensive as it is now. But even back then, it was difficult to keep him insured and pay the bills. And there was a time where he needed blood thinners, and we couldn't afford them. It was $8 for the prescription back then. And I asked the pharmacist how much Decon I'd have to feed him because it's the same drug, and he wouldn't tell me. So we weren't able to afford the pills, and he ended up in the hospital again. But I mean, that was a real issue, and we still haven't solved that. It just seems that so many of the problems that we have, and that was all the way back in the 60s, that we still are dealing with some of those issues today. You know, despite Ted Kennedy fighting all those years to try to get us some kinds of universal health care, we're still in that situation.
Yeah. No, I mean, healthcare is one of those that, that's the last 100 years we've really been working and fighting and trying to figure out that.
Will you run again for another office, do you think?
Well, I had a free shot, if you will, in with the county treasurer's race being in the presidential years. So given the propensity for my wife and kids to like a roof and food, I might probably best run for county treasurer again. But we'll keep all options open. We haven't quite seen what the country's reaction to whatever the Republican rule will mean yet.
I know. I think it's going to be an exciting era, unfortunately.
There's a lot of work for Democrats to do. We've left ourselves many options to improve.
Well, that's true.
Charlie Brown way of saying it.
But the fundraising didn't turn you off to the point that you'd never tackle that again.
No, that's just part of the process. We knew it going in. I've got a whole bunch more friends. I had, 1,600 people probably that donated. So we're going to, keep in touch and expand our Christmas card list.
You did a little better than I did. I think I raised, 800? I was considered, that didn't actually cheer up the Democrats who perceived me. That was the Ralph Nader era. There are many people in that party that still are not happy about me taking any votes away from that race at all. It's always been a difficult district.
Yeah, well, I've been doing party organizing work for 34 years. I think this was just a culmination of those years, and we'll see what the next 34 has to hold.
So what are the hot issues facing the treasurer now?
Well, we're unfortunately, tax foreclosure continues to be a large issue. There was the insertion in the City Pulse that folks hopefully picked up. I've got a couple copies of that in front of me. The tax foreclosure numbers are going down very little. Mortgage foreclosure has improved a great deal. I think it's because all of the bad mortgages kind of have, gone sour. People have been foreclosed upon. They reached the end of the carnage. But because of the change in the economy, a majority of the jobs lost were paying a decent wage. People could afford to support themselves, their family, have a house. The majority of jobs that have come back pay less. So I think we're going to see a long-term shifting, especially in the urban core area.
Yeah. And it's spreading to the burbs too, isn't it?
Yeah, but a lot of it is in the older areas of Lansing City and Township, North Delhi, areas like that. So the tax foreclosure numbers, we're doing everything we can to do foreclosure avoidance. We've got our prevention commercial running, increasing our relationship with the Greater Lansing Housing Coalition. Great to have Julie Powers on board there.
Yes.
And they're going to be able to assist the treasurer in some more of the outreach. So I'm excited about that. We want to do everything we can to keep people in their house. I think the campaign process kind of really opened your eyes to really how unfair a lot of the things in the world are. I knew that already, but the folks with the money are greedy. It's a biblical concept. They're playing it out everywhere, and so many people just don't have a fair shake. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that if there is a way to save their property, we're going to help them do it.
This is LCC Radio, WLNZ 89.7 here in Lansing. We're talking with Ingham County Treasurer Eric Schertzing about some of the challenges with tax foreclosures. And you've told me this before, that one of the difficulties is that if you begin to fall behind, the penalties start to get to the point where it becomes even more difficult for you to dig out of that hole. So how is your prevention strategy aimed at getting to people before they end up with those onerous penalties that make it even harder to recover?
Well, we're certainly trying to do that. I mean, we have the community resources if people will reach out. It's really trying to get people to call earlier to make sure that they understand the penalty. I mean, 9,500 parcels go delinquent every year. 2,500 of them go into forfeiture. We end up foreclosing on about 300. So almost everybody that goes into forfeiture, or 90% of the people that go into forfeiture, they pay. But the later they pay, the more they pay.
Yes.
So it's helping them understand that when you're prioritizing all the expenses in life, I mean, people have to eat and you have to, take your medicine and all those different things, that something you're going to pay eventually that's going to be more expensive, you got to do it up front.
Isn't that kind of human behavior, though?
It is.
People do it with sales tax and things like that, income tax.
Right. When my husband was in the hospital and the bills would come in and I knew I couldn't pay them, I put them under a cushion on the couch. This was back in the days with the sick husband, right? By the time that he'd get out of the hospital, I mean, I was sitting like 6 feet off the ground from the bills that were there underneath the cushion. I just couldn't bear to look at them. And and I know that if you call the creditor in advance and try to work something out, you're usually better off.
Eric, I mean, I know
Sure.
you probably can't talk about individual, we really don't want you to, but how does the City of Lansing Development Division owe so much back?
Well,
back taxes?
through some of the funding programs, they have helped families invest in their home for energy efficiency, for new roofs, for health and safety issues,
So
and there's a lien placed
Lien.
against the home, and unfortunately, some of those individuals slip. It's pretty amazing the amount of money owed by some individuals. People can go online, holdonyourhome.org, and pull up the list electronically, go to the county treasurer's website and see that list. So look at this list and find friends and family and that elderly person that you used
That
to
neighbor,
live
the
next to.
deadbeat.
Well, no, there's mental health issues, there's dementia, there's all sorts of issues that drive the list.
Yeah.
People that have been taken advantage of, there's bad lenders like Deutsche Bank, and things like that. But the people that concern me the most are always the ones that we never hear from, because there's never an opportunity to have a heart-to-heart conversation and help them understand how things can work a little bit better. The city has done some great work with the Financial Empowerment Center. There was a Bloomberg grant. I mean, there's counseling and credit repair and resources out there that can really help people, but they've got to reach out to us.
What about the tearing down of substandard housing now? Where are we on that? How many houses are tagged that are on your kind of radar?
Well, again, there's a great partnership between the City of Lansing and the Land Bank Authority. The city was recently awarded, $6 or $7 million that are going to be a project working with the Land Bank. We have almost 200 houses that are tagged to come down. I think there's another 50 that can be acquired in that process. That will, at the end of 18 months or so, get us fairly caught up, but in that 2-year cycle, we'll pick up some more. So it's an ongoing issue. The problems come at us a little bit faster than the resources to solve it sometimes. But working together, we've been able to do a lot. In November, for example, we on the positive side. I mean, I don't like to dwell, too much on the downside. But in November, we sold the 200th house in the city of Lansing through the Land Bank programs. There's families and kids and all sorts of good things, happy Christmases attached to that. So we're trying to do as much positive and as much good as we possibly can to, get some sugar here with the lemons that come to us by the truckload.
The other thing I think I may have read about is you're starting to allow some recycling on some of the materials that come out of those houses?
Well, I've got a report from the Delta Institute that came in late Friday to read through. We're working with some community groups to try to figure out how to reclaim and recycle. And there's all this wood going to the landfill. Well, Michigan is a manufacturing state. We have a history of making things. What can we make? What can we manufacture if we're able to reuse those wood materials, whether it's artistically or products, tables, things like that?
Well, I know there's a recycling center in Ann Arbor that is involved with wood recycling out of Detroit. The tear downs out of Detroit, they're bringing the wood in there and recutting it and things. It's pretty amazing wood. It's 120
Sure,
years old.
this is the old growth forest. They are
Very
standing
dense,
in the homes
yeah.
in our downtowns and in our cities.
At the same time, we have to be careful about things like lead paint on some of the things and some of the toxics coming out of the house. So part of it is the good stuff being able to be recycled and the other things to be able to handle it properly.
And having individuals trained that are doing
Yeah.
the work, lead-safe handling practices are part of what we work with.
Does the overall state economy tend to depress or raise housing prices in Lansing much, or are we fairly impervious and we're our own market?
Well, you know, we are fortunate in many ways. We're not the I-75 Southeast Michigan area, but then we're not as bubbly as the western part of the state. So we do have a lot of stability in employment. But, you know, it's a lot of these folks going through these problems are a little bit out of sight, out of mind. You know, I mean, we really do have different societies going on because of the economic situation. And so it's tough on the folks without money. We really don't care a lot about poor people in this governmental structure that even I'm part of it. Just we really struggle to make this a fairer world.
Even the Pope, who's been trying to raise this issue, is now being accused of being a commie for doing so, right? I mean, it's kind of ironic because it is out of sight, out of mind. One of the things I'm very fortunate this semester is I have a young woman from China, Mandy Fu, who is studying with us, getting a graduate degree, and she wants to go into visual journalism and be a photojournalist, and she would very much like to tell the stories of some of the people who are in the circumstances that you're talking about. I think these are some of the untold stories that we could do a better job of as local media and telling people what, you know, times really are tough for a lot of people. I noticed just driving down Michigan Avenue, there's still a lot of for lease signs on Michigan Ave, you know, coming in tonight, I noticed. We haven't enjoyed the overall as a country, the kind of recovery I think we'd hoped. The stats look better, but the people are still, a lot of them, facing tough times.
Yeah, the distribution of the resources is not very equitable.
Pretty hard to have the 1% take 40% of the wealth off the table. It doesn't leave that much for the rest of us to share. They get 20% of the annual income as well, so that always makes life exciting. $1 out of 5 is sort of gone before you and I get a chance at it, Eric.
Absolutely.
How many cars can you own?
And how much butter can you eat? That's what I keep wondering. I don't know. Maybe
I think we eat more in my house than most do on average, at least. But that's a
Because you're a
propensity.
farm boy.
I was going to say
I'm
that.
a good farm boy. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we're happy to have you back. We love these monthly visits where you come and tell us the news about the community, but we all kind of wish that you were there also doing this from Washington and making all those changes, fighting the good fight.
You know, I hope people will generously reach back out to me. We're going to engage and do as many good things as we can as Ingham County Treasurer and make the community better each and every day.
Thank you.
What we are given to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to be joined now, this will be exciting. We're talking about free speech issues, and we've been talking over the weekend about free speech issues. We have 3 guests joining us. They're going to crowd around the microphone here.